Well, good evening. Welcome to Bedtime Stories with me, Pastor Michelle. I am actually doing this from our youth room at the church, so thought I would change things up. And so, let's hear about an inspirational woman, shall we? Our woman today is Rigoberta Menchú. She is the Mayan human rights activist. She was born in 1959 into a poor Mayan family in Guatemala. The next year, a violent civil war started to tear Guatemala apart, lasting for 36 years. During the war, the government changed many times, but its victims were always the same: the Mayas. The Mayan people are indigenous to Guatemala, which means they have always been there, unlike the Latino Guatemalan people whose ancestors are Spanish. The Mayas, around half the population of Guatemala, have been treated brutally. Their land has been taken from them to open silver mines, build farms, and cut logs from the rainforest. Many Mayan people are still refused health care and jobs because they are a different race. But in Rigoberta's childhood, things were much worse. Picking coffee beans in the mountains where they live, Rigoberta's family often traveled to work on the coast, earning just a few pence a day. Farmers sprayed people and crops alike with dangerous pesticides, and workers were treated almost like slaves. When she was a teen, she wanted to help change the lives of her people, especially women. Then her father was arrested by the army and hurt very badly. When he was freed, he worked to make things better for the Maya, and Rigoberta helped him. In 1979, her young teenage brother was arrested and was killed by the army. The next year, her father was killed in a fire while protesting. Then her mother was arrested and beaten so badly that she died, and another brother was killed by the army too. Wow, devastating. She was heartbroken, but she wanted to fight back. She learned to speak Spanish as well as other Mayan languages, joined a strike to plead for better working conditions for farm workers, and marched in demonstrations. She also started educating her fellow Mayan people about how to resist the government and the army. Around that time, the new government of General Mont and his army began a terrible project called Operation Sophia, destroying hundreds of indigenous Mayan villages. The army eventually disappeared. Over 200,000 people, nearly all Mayas, pushing over 1.5 million people out of their homes and lands. Many, including Rigoberta, escaped to Mexico, but many others did not. The disappeared people were kidnapped, killed, and buried in unmarked graves. Mayan villages and crops were burned to the ground, making it impossible for them to return. She continued to fight for indigenous people rights from Mexico, helping to start the United Representation of Guatemalan Opposition. She shared her story with a writer named Elizabeth Burgos de Bray, and their book, I, Rigoberta Menchú, brought the world's attention to the terrible troubles in Guatemala. Rigoberta also narrated a film called When the Mountains Tremble about the awful ways her people have suffered. In 1992, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in honor of her incredible work to improve the lives of the Mayan people. On the 500th anniversary of the year Columbus arrived in the Americas, Rigoberta was nominated by other indigenous people as a reminder of how many indigenous tribes were enslaved and killed, their land stolen, and their cultures wiped out when Europeans arrived. She used the prize money to start the Rigoberta Menchú Tomb Foundation. Largely because of her work and aided by Norway, a peace agreement was reached in 1996. She created the first ever indigenous political movement in Guatemala called Wincac, which means the wholeness of the human being in Mayan. She ran for president of Guatemala twice, becoming the first woman or Maya ever to run for leadership, and in 2011, Wincac won 2 seats in Congress. Since 1996, Rigoberta has been a UNESCO ambassador for all the indigenous peoples of the world, working tirelessly to make sure they are treated equally and fairly. Wow, there's a woman that did not stop even when life got hard. So there's a live picture of her, and there's a picture and some of her quotes. This world's not going to change unless we're willing to change ourselves. We are people and we want to be respected, not to be victims of intolerance and racism. During my most difficult moments and complex situations, I've been able to dream of a more beautiful future. And so there you have it, my friends. Tomorrow is someone that I think all of us have heard of, Amelia Earhart. So that's tomorrow. And so, my friends, let's hear tonight's bedtime story, the official one. And so it is from the movie Bambi, and it's called The Race. Good morning, young prince, Thumper greeted Bambi one bright and sunny morning. Good morning, Thumper, Bambi said. I have a great idea, Bambi. Let's have a race, Thumper said. Whoever makes it to that big pine tree over there first wins the race. But it would be silly for us to race, Bambi told his friend. Why's that? Thumper asked. Because I'll win, Bambi said. What makes you so sure? Thumper challenged, puffing up his chest. Ooh, like that. Because I'm bigger and faster than you are, Bambi explained. If you're so sure you'll win, why are you afraid to race me? Bambi paused. He didn't want to hurt the little rabbit's feelings. Fine. Let's race, he said. Flower, who had just joined the friends, agreed to judge. On your mark, get set, go, cried Flower. They both took off as fast as they could. Bambi, with his long legs and big wide stride, immediately took the lead, but Thumper's small size helped him to dart through the underbrush and slip through some bunches of trees. When Bambi looked back, he saw that Thumper was right on his heels. Bambi paused to jump over a tree that had been knocked down, blocking the path. Thumper was able to wiggle under it. He popped up in front of Bambi and took the lead. Bambi took longer and longer strides, running faster and faster. Soon he had passed Thumper, but in his hurry to go as fast as he could, he got tangled up in a bush. As Bambi struggled to free himself, Thumper hopped right past him. They were quickly approaching the big pine tree. Bambi was running as fast as he could, jumping over logs and bushes. Thumper, too, hopped as quickly as his bunny legs would carry him, ducking and weaving through whatever obstacles were in his way. And as they crossed the finish line, they were in a neck-and-neck tie. See, Thumper said, panting, little guys can keep up. You are absolutely right, Bambi said, also panting, and the two friends, both winners, sat down together to catch their breath. All right, and there's the race. And you know what's ironic about Bambi? Just to point out, the character Flower is a skunk in the movie Bambi. And I just have to say, skunks do not smell anything like flowers. Late last night, and our dog Lemmy was sprayed by a little baby skunk. And no matter how the size, it still had a big smell. And so this morning we were we spent some time trying to get rid of the smell. I know Janelle gave our dog a bath, several baths, and I was trying to help get the smell out of the house. I tried many different methods, and I think we're just going to I think that smell is going to be around for a while. And I do have to say, I'm kind of glad I'm house sitting because I don't want to smell it right now. But I did spend some time before I came into work. I vacuumed our floor, put deodorizer down. But yes, that smell is still very much in our house. So skunks do not smell anything like flowers. Just pointing that out. Anyway, I do hope you all are doing okay and hanging in there during these difficult times. Much love to all of you. Be safe out there. Bye.